You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Batuta Advocate, on Desert Rock FM.
Welcome back to the Batuta Advocate radio show. Errol Parker here. Clancy Overall is off sick doing something. I'd say he's sick. He's been asked to use up his annual leave by the board. So this week we've got Wendell Hussey in on the program. Wendell, how are you?
Yeah, going really well. Thanks, Errol. Look, I actually saw on Clancy's Instagram story a photo of Piers Morgan, so I think maybe he might have been catching up with him potentially. He's back in the country for the TV show. So,
well, yeah, I think, look, I'd say I'm probably one of the only people on earth who's seen Clancy without a beard, and if you compare him up against Piers Morgan, he's a dead ringer. So it all makes sense to me, mate, yeah.
Meeting of the minds. So, look, good to be filling in for Clance and great to have the return of the Bundjalung Falcon.
Yes, I'm back, and great to see you two fellas.
Yes, it's good to see you too, Troy. And for those listening at home who can't see Troy on the big screen here, Troy Cassar-Daley's back for his second appearance on the Batuta Advocate radio show, and this time it's a project that I'd say probably isn't born out of lockdown this time, Troy.
No, this was actually recorded well before lockdowns and face masks and all that sort of stuff. And I didn't even get a chance to have a look at these tracks before I went into COVID. I was just, everyone was too busy. And if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think I would have actually had the time to sit down and actually, go through all the recordings. We had 82 shows to go through. And if you want to listen to yourself for 82 shows, you're a better man than me, I can tell you.
Because you were recording it all, weren't you, as well? Sound checks, all the bits and pieces.
The whole lot. And I had my daughter with me. She was doing, the gap year thing. And I said, listen, if you really do love music, this is going to be the one that's going to get you over the line. You're going to really fall in love with it or hate it because there's early mornings, there's flights, there's long drives and all that crap. And she said, look, I'll take you up on that offer. But I really wanted to take her around. I particularly booked all the places that I've actually really loved since I was 20 years old and took her there and got a chance so she can see the country.
Bit of a tour guide from Dad there.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's 50 songs and 50 towns, and you're saying it's from 82 different shows that you did. Who did go through and go, we want this song from this show and we want it from this town? How did that all come about? Who had to sit down and listen to it, or was there some kind of back and forth that you've been like, I reckon that one was a good one, I reckon that one was a good one, pick those?
Look, it's a good question because I couldn't listen to 82 shows. There's no way. Neither could my poor manager, So what I did, I made note every night I came off stage. We knew we were going to record the lot, but every sound check, every time I came off stage, I'd always mention to my manager or my front of house fellow who did the recording, I'd say, look, I really enjoyed the version of this song tonight. I love the feel of this crowd here, whether we played in Cootes Crossing or we're up there in Jabiru in the Northern Territory. There were certain things, and my daughter also would come off stage and say, now that show in Darwin was like the highlight of the whole thing for me. Make sure if there's anything you use of mine, Dad, make sure it's something from Darwin or Jabiru gets used, So we made note of things, not thinking we were ever going to get to this stuff. It was always like pie in the sky. But you get 2 years lockdown, you get plenty of time on your hands.
Bit of free time to listen to some stuff.
Oh, mate, I tell you, I was that bored, and I was so bored, I went, how about we have a look at those songs?
32 towns would have missed out then. Do you reckon there'll be any that are filthy they didn't make the cut?
There's probably a couple that were such bad shows they don't deserve to be there. Because there's a couple of shows, and I won't mention towns, but they were really, really shitty crowds. Like not bad in numbers, but just talk over you when you're trying to do an acoustic show,
Yeah, right.
And my daughter would come off and go, Dad, I think they hated me at this show. And I'd say, well, that's what happens. That's entertainment, darling.
Yeah. That's just Sydney, I guess. Yeah, well,
Are you saying that Sydney didn't get a run in this thing? I didn't even remember Sydney there. I thought we had Sydney. So we had Thurul. Is that close enough?
Well, I think the people of that town would be a bit dirty if you lumped them in with those people down there in Sydney, I tell you what. And probably vice versa too.
Touring around with your daughter, Jem, the new Cassar-Daley on the block, how was that experience?
Oh, look, it was amazing to have your kid out there. I'd been through some pretty awful things in getting the chance to have to keep working through that grief that I had. It was good having her with me, to tell you the truth, Wendell. It was a hard time. I lost a really good mate as well through suicide, who was a guitar-playing friend. So, yeah, we spent a lot of time you know, she used to stay in a room near me, and she'd always have a bit of a knock on the door and come and get me a cup of tea and just make sure I was okay. And I haven't seen that side of my daughter because she's never had to really console me or look after me. But this couple of weeks that we were out there on the road when things were pretty dire, I was also fighting with a mother. That didn't help me too much either. And she wasn't taking sides either. She's a very neutral kid. And, you know, she really did sort of be on the road at the right time for me.
Yeah, right. Sounds like she's pretty switched on for a young kid, going off, doing all that sort of stuff, looking out for you and really stepping up there.
Oh, she's definitely, you know, older than her years. She's only still 21, but yeah, she's got a big heart, and I think she really did understand what was going on in my life at the time too, which wasn't flash. 2019, the best thing to come out of it was the tour with my daughter, and to be able to hold on to these recordings. I could hear in the recordings, the little bit that I listened to, I could hear in there the certain nights where it was really affecting me, and then the other nights where you felt like the crowd was just a buffer for you and they were just riding along like a cloud, you know.
Yeah.
Were there a fair few eye-opening experiences for her on that? Were there some things where you had to go, yeah, Jem, this is going to happen? You know, you're talking about the crowd talking over and probably a bit sauced up, I'd imagine, when they're kind of making a bit of noise and not being the best crowd. Were there a few things like that you had to go, oh, this is what's going to happen if you want to do this going forward?
Yeah, well, we were standing in the line at about 4:45 trying to get on this flight, and she was looking very shabby because she had about, 3 hours sleep. And she said, Dad, this is shit. And I said, welcome to the entertainment industry. There was a few of those moments where she was
welcome to first grade.
Yeah.
And there was that moment. There was also moments sitting in the car where she's asleep, and I've taken a few photos of her with the mouth open on the pillow and showed her. I told her the first thing I was going to do was chuck it on Insta and shame her out in front of all her friends. There were a few. You got to play the normal pranks, the dad pranks on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the main part, she was a pretty resilient little plant, you know. She didn't take too much looking after. She was always on time. She was always in the foyer on time, and I taught her that from early on because there's nothing worse than having that one member of the band that's going to be late to the foyer and they're making everyone hang around waiting for them. And I said, don't be that person if you can, you know.
If you can, yeah. Nice.
Well, Troy, we've come to the conclusion that the worst crowd's probably in Sydney. Where were the best crowds?
No, Sydney was all right.
Yeah.
I can tell you now, the best crowds for us, I think we played this little tiny hall near Grafton where I come from, and it's in Cootes Crossing. And I have to say, it could only hold maybe 110 people. They made singers. It was a real old-fashioned country thing. But the lady that used to book this particular gig, for me as a young bloke, still books the gig.
Yeah.
And, that's a big full circle moment for me. And it was also for Jem. I said to Jem, you're going to love this place. I said, half the crowd will be our family and the other half will be just friends and that I've made over the years and that she's met. And it was just the most incredible gig. There was amazing. Up through Arnhem Land, where I first started going when I was about 20 years old, I started going up there with a tour and I haven't stopped since. I've been going up there for 35 years. And I took her up there as well. And for her to meet all the people that I first met up there was pretty special. She saw crocodiles at Carl's Crossing going into Arnhem Land. She saw all the real stuff. She met a lot of traditional owners up there. And it was pretty incredible to introduce my kid, like I have done with my son, to my friends that I've had up there for such a long time, you know.
And she's got her own, I know we're talking about the 50 songs, 50 towns, but Jem's got her own thing going now as well. She's just launching her career too, solo.
Oh, mate, she's been going great guns. And once again, every time she overthinks stuff, I sort of send her on to a mother. She's more like a mother than me. I don't overthink anything. And she sort of goes to her mum, I haven't got a dress and stuff like that. And the mother goes, oh, well, you better get onto it. And then the mother's hemming it up before the show. I don't suffer all that stuff. But she has a great little career going. She's got a little EP out at the moment. And we went to the launch the other night, and even her brother, who hates getting up and singing with her, got up and sang with her. And just they sounded so beautiful together. I'm just really proud of both of them. Like Clay really thinks the world of his sister and is really supportive. But, she's got a lot of great things. I think I don't know whether it's announced yet, but she's doing, maybe I'll have to do a scoop here on Batuta. I think she's going away with Thelma Plum at some stage, but I hope that's for real because otherwise I might have blown it for her. But she's pretty excited.
Yeah, that's a big go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think Thelma's amazing. And Gem's idolised her for years as a young Indigenous woman who talks the talk and doesn't just talk, but she walks it as well. I think she's a great role model for Gem, and I've just been really chuffed to see that any opportunities that are coming Gem's way, she's taken with a bit of grace. You know, she's not getting too excited or worried about things. She just gets there and plays, and it's when she plays is when she gets more work, which is lovely. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, right. That does sound very exciting. Since you were last on the show, you had a pretty notable achievement, I believe. You chalked up 40 Golden Guitar Awards and passed a couple of blokes by the name of Slim Dusty and Lee Kernaghan to go right to the top of the table. How was that moment when all that kind of happened? What was the thought process there?
Oh, yeah, that was a real double-edged sword for me, because the first thing I didn't want to do is break any records of Slim's or Lee's, you know, because Slim and Lee were equal at the time. And I had this conversation with Lee as well. Like we've been mates for a long, long time. And I said, it's really not sitting with me. I feel like I should be doing what Tubby Taylor did and declare before you get to the Don's record, you know. And Lee sort of graciously said, look, mate, you know, we're going to have to keep moving forward. That's the way our industry has to work, you know. And then I got in touch with Slim Dusty's widow, Joy McKean, and she put me at ease when she said, whatever happens on that night that we had the awards, she said, just know that the Dusty family are barracking for you. And she made the whole thing feel okay. It didn't sit with me for a long time, and it was only until I was a week out that this smart-ass mate rang me and said, you know, that if you get 2 Golden Guitar Awards, you're going to be past the great Slim Dusty.
Yeah.
And I just went, I didn't really need to hear that, but that's all I could think about on the week running in there. I went straight from Blues Fest, where my wife got COVID, and we went straight up to Tamworth, and she had to lock herself in a room and isolate in Tamworth for the whole week, poor thing.
Was there almost a part of you then that was like, oh, maybe I'll just have one and then I'll just leave it at that, you know?
Mate, it was definitely in the back of my mind.
Don't give me that second award this year.
Well, I suppose you could have done what Matthew Hayden did and score 380 against a bunch of accountants and farmers from Zimbabwe. I mean, you know, at least you haven't done that.
You've done it against tier 1 opposition.
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, obviously Lee and I are good mates, and obviously I've loved Slim's music since I was a kid, so it was a tough one, but it's a wonderful thing to have to look back on now, and I'm sure my grandkids one day might look that up and go, hey, well, that was pretty cool that old Poppy did that, you know?
Yeah, I reckon they might. You had a story last time you were on the show. You were talking about the first time you met Slim and the bits and pieces of advice he gave. Are you starting to kind of get to the point now where you're becoming a bit of a godfather figure to the industry? Are you noticing a lot of people coming up to you, younger guys looking for advice, seeing you as that real figure that kind of overlooks the industry, or the guy who's just done it all?
I definitely have. I mean, I noticed it a few years ago once the young Goori kids started calling me uncle, and you know, that's not going away. So, and I wear that with pride.
Yeah.
I do get a lot of kids, you know, getting in touch through Instagram. Have a look at my single, let me know what you reckon. And you can't get back to everyone. We get quite a lot of that. But I do like the kids that come with genuine questions about where they should be going next, because, I mean, I had all those questions that I used to ask Slim. And Slim's advice was very simple to me, and mine is exactly the same. I often say to themselves, you know, just find your story. You know, everyone's got a story. And whether it's good or bad or indifferent or whatever, we've got a story, and you've got to be able to tell that story, and that's what makes you unique. So there's a lot of kids that do ask, and I love that. I mean, I'm all for it, but there's only a matter of time that I've got to be able to get back to everybody, and I'm sure they understand that we're all busy, you know.
Speaking of the next generation, I've been noticing a little bit, not so much in the country scene, but there's been a few samples and remixes getting around in modern music. Land Down Under's getting around. There's Stone Roses. Yeah. There's a few different ones. If there was kind of some from this next generation of maybe, you know, the more EDM, poppy kind of stuff, that electronic music, what do you reckon? What one of your songs could potentially be good for a bit of drum and bass behind it and a bit of a hype chorus? What do you reckon?
I had a bloke years ago that did a remix of one of my tunes and turned it into a dance song, and it scared the life out of me. And he sent it to me, and he said, can you just do another vocal on this? and send them back. And it was on full on European Euro disco stuff. I don't know what that is, but there was a song called Big Big Love. But I should try and find that copy and send it to you guys because
I would love to hear that.
It's very, very wacky, and but it's a good wacky. And I think that if I brought it out now and sort of gave it to some kids to use, I'm sure it would probably get a bit of run of airplay because it's right up that alley. I never thought of that. So thanks, guys. I might actually do that.
Yeah, might get some airtime.
Yeah.
Get some big plays for that one. Whereabouts are you now? We are halfway through a tour, half time at the moment.
Halfway through a tour. Ian Moss and I have been doing the touring all over the countryside, and it's been amazing doing this tour with Ian. We've been to just about every corner of the country so far. We haven't covered Adelaide and Western Australia and stuff, so we're going to get into those two states, South Australia and stuff like that. It's been incredible sitting on stage with Ian because, we've been mates for a long, long time, but we've never had a chance to make any music. So he had a month off in his schedule, and I decided I'd take a month off too, just in between everything. And just who wants to go out at winter time anyway? It's a bit of a suck
everyone
time to go
in
out.
Victoria, mate, that's when they come into their own. The Tasmanians, these are people who hate summer.
It was cold enough when we went to Tasmania in summertime.
Oh, mate, they live in the cold down there.
No, I gather that's when it is time to come out. But we did Melbourne and played down there. It was freezing cold, but everyone still came out. But that's been incredible. And we're doing some recordings of that as well. One day we might release 12 tracks of things that we've discovered on our way through that Ian and I have done. But it's been great playing with someone like him. He's rock and roll royalty, Ian.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I hear there's a little bit of artwork getting made at the moment.
Yeah, look, I'm restoring an EH at the moment, and my wife doesn't know half of what I've spent on this stupid thing. And if there's anyone listening that would understand it or appreciate that, you've
mate,
got
it's a need-to-know basis, that type of stuff, mate.
Very, very much so. So you're squirreling away guitars and then selling something to buy new sets of wheels and all this crap. But I've done some artwork at the same time. So what I'm going to do is to make sure that I give people a chance to see the car, because a few of them have been sort of saying, hey, when are you unveiling this bloody old thing, And so we're going to do a little art show. I've been doing some painting at the moment. We're going to do a little exhibition plus unveiling of the car. The car's it's an EH and it's got a V8 in it.
Yep.
So it's going to look pretty smick, and it sounds amazing. It already got knocked back for its first, DB test. So I gather it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, just as long as it doesn't hum like a Tesla, mate, I'm sure it'll definitely be a crowd pleaser.
And so that might be getting unveiled around August? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, around August, we're going to do that in Brizzy here, and just give people a chance. I'll pop the bonnet and they can have a squiz at that as well as the artwork, and then do some songs, make a little show of it as well. So it'll be like an album launch for these 50 songs. Yep. And I don't even know why I'm doing it. And my manager said, look, all that art stuff you're doing, you should be doing a little exhibition and print some off so people can actually buy a couple of prints. And I didn't even think of that. I don't overthink anything.
Yeah.
And as long as I know where the car's going to be parked when it gets back, I'll be all right.
No, well, that's all the data manager is really. He's a paid thinker.
Well, my manager's really, really good at doing the thinking for me, and she does all the organising. But if I can get in the car and get across town and park it there so people can see the motor and stuff, I think I'll be more than happy. But all I got to do is sing. So that's the best job in the world, really.
Yeah.
One thing I've noticed over the last little while, Troy, and just curious to hear your thoughts about what can be done. Not a lot of TV shots I've noticed on the Instagram and the Twitter lately in terms of a certain rugby league team. Been not quite as many as last year around the back end of last year.
Yeah, look, I think the trouble is I just don't think Twitter and alcohol are a good mix. My wife says to me, look, when Uncle Troy comes out, just be really careful. And it's funny because I've really let go sometimes, but we haven't had a lot of wins.
Nah.
So we're just cruising at the moment. We're just finding our feet. Latrell's obviously getting that hammy sorted out. He's back in the country now, and poor old New South Wales were hoping he'd come back, but that's just very unfortunate there. So.
How relieved do you reckon they were at South Sydney when they managed to just be like, he's not playing game 2. It's not happening.
He's not going to Perth, guys. I mean, Josh Addo-Carr's still out there at bloody Bulldogs. They should have put him in there. But
yeah.
What's he done to Freddie? What's happened there at the back end of last year?
Something's going on. I don't know what
Pranged his car or something at training.
Yeah,
Or-
I don't know whether he was
or
putting
doesn't
rocks
wanna-
in someone's bag or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he filled
What
up.
was going on?
He filled up Freddie's bag with rocks, and then all the boys laughed at him, and that was it. Freddie's had enough.
That was it.
You
Or
can take 2022 off, mate.
Yeah.
or he
yeah.
doesn't want to do the 8 a.m. yoga class.
Yeah. The barefoot.
That's right.
The earthing. That's what Freddie likes to do
Earthing
after the
over at
yoga.
Optus.
Earthing down there at Coogee Oval.
Thing.
He loves
No,
the
but
earthing, Freddie.
I do stay away from Twitter on footy nights at the moment, but I probably will get back into the swing of it when I get back. When Uncle Troy's allowed off the leash again, he has a bit of a time, so I've got to be careful.
Yeah, well, look, hopefully they time their run and then come the end of the year, give you something to cheer about.
I hope so.
Well, I'm a long-suffering West Tigers fan, Troy. So
Oh,
you know.
you poor bugger. You and Anthony Wiggle, man.
Oh,
Tell you what. He's a bit like Uncle Troy at times too. I've noticed he gets off the leash when that skivvy comes off, and he gets there and he's very frustrated getting refed out of games,
Yeah, I'm not. Those refs. I mean, it's a killer. Just every week it just seems to be costing us. I don't know. Yeah, something we got to work on with the refs. I think just the way we.
I
Talk
think
to
so.
them, maybe.
Because I did get on a bit of a thing about the bunker, but I got to let it go. I really do.
Just lastly, Troy. So we've got 10 songs a month dropping until August. And then you can collect them all, the 3 CDs. It all comes out completely then in August there.
Yeah, Wendell, I just thought we'd just drip feed it out. There was not meant to be a big fuss about doing this recording, but I really, the more I actually got involved in putting it together, the more inspired I was to actually make sure that people knew it was out. And like, I'm not hardly doing much press at all. Really, all I wanted to do was let people know that if you want an honest record with 50 songs on it, to go for a drive across the country with. This is probably the CD, or you might want to, download it or stream it or whatever you do these days. But there's still a lot of people in my older Uncle Troy generation that want to buy a CD and want to stick it in their car and go across the country, and play it as
50
well.
50 songs would get you a fair way too, wouldn't it? What's that?
Yeah, a lot to take in.
You go probably halfway from Grafton to Sydney. You get Grafton to Brizzy easy, wouldn't you? 50 songs.
You'd think so, yeah. I wouldn't put anyone through that. Not in one big hit. You just got to just dole yourself on it,
Yeah.
In the EH, maybe going flat out, with your headphones in, probably.
Yeah,
and
you
the
won't
windows up.
hear it in that.
No. So in the first edition here, we have recordings from places like Milton and Yamba, both two places that, are quite similar but on either ends of the spectrum, I'd say. And then we go out to places locally here to Batuta, out there to Blackall, home of Jackie Howe, and over across to Port Hedland. Is there anywhere you didn't really go, Troy?
Well, we only had 80-odd shows, so we sort of had to make sure we just got to everywhere we could. But to be honest, I mean, and one of the reasons I did so many shows was that my wife and I were having such trouble. I was actually booking things to get away from home.
Yeah.
And that's no word of a lie. I was running in 2019 and running from all sorts of things. But this record is the result of a whole bunch of shows that we could just physically make. We were even adding them on the run. If we wanted to get to Western Australia, we did parts of Western Australia like Mandurah. I got a chance to take my daughter for a walk there, and there was dolphins and stuff carrying on in the water right near us. And so all those experiences that she had, hopefully she'll be able to carry them for the rest of her life now. And when she does travel, she'll at least understand where she is.
Yep.
82 shows. That's a big, big run. We ever do another run like that again?
If I'm divorced, I probably would. Willie Nelson does more than that.
Yeah.
So that's getting up into his territory. He does about, one year, I think he told me he did 250 shows in 1 year.
Yeah, mate. He's a vampire, that bloke, I reckon.
It's just a machine.
He mustn't
So,
sleep.
82 is nothing compared to Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thanks, Troy. It's been a great interview, mate, and we're looking forward to catching you out on the road. I think it's going to be an absolutely cracking 3-set volume of... Mate, it's an absolute road atlas.
Well, it's something that I've never done. I've never done a live acoustic-y record like this, and it's something that if it wasn't for COVID, I probably would. It'd still be on a bloody hard drive somewhere in the studio.
Yeah.
So there's silver linings to a lot of the things that happened in COVID, but I made a record as well and got to sing out my blues in that, and then we also had time to sit down and actually find these songs, and if people can enjoy them, that's great. And I'm like I say, you fellas just have to keep up the good work with what Batuta does. I get such a trip out of just opening up Instagram and just laughing my ass off. and you just got to keep it going because, you know, we needed that. And that's a lot of that humour got us through COVID when things were really shitty. You guys made it really, really work for me. So thank you.
Well, mate, we'll just have to keep going until Albo comes to close us down, which is with the AFP or something, you know.
Yeah. Or just
Hide
make
your
us
hard
part of the
drives
state
now.
media.
Yeah, mate. Cheers, Troy.
No worries,
Thanks,
Will.
Troy.
Lovely to talk to you.
We'll hang out for that European dance music track.
I'll be sending it straight to you when I find it.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Troy.
See you, boys.